How did you miss, like, the plot point of the whole show?
Right.
Like, Kev's like, wait, who's Vanya again?
Am I the only one that watched the show, guys? I mean...
Broadcasting live from inside the power band. This is The Blah. In this episode, everybody dies. I'm your host, the Wolverine, along with Algorithm, and there he goes, Jarhigo.
What's going on, guys?
Jarhigo, what's up?
That was so great.
Too cool for school.
Because it was so terrible. Yeah, totally. Jarhigo has gone back in time. He is 12 again.
Yes.
I don't know whether I enjoyed the too cool by far Jarhigo or the, like, disappointed sigh afterwards. It was good.
Oh, always such a good time here on the podcast. Folks, this week we're going to be talking about something really special. It's a Netflix series about superheroes, because we've never done that. It's called The Umbrella Academy. It was originally a Darkhorse comic, and it was adapted into a Netflix series after many ups and downs throughout the years. Who wants to kick it off? How about Chad?
The show sucked.
Great. Jarhigo.
Fantastic. I don't know if I think the show sucked. There definitely were some things that started to rub me the wrong way about it, especially on the second viewing. But I did find myself kind of just relaxing into it and enjoying it somewhat.
I like that. If I may, did either of you read this series of comics?
Negative.
No, I have not.
Okay, that makes 3. I did not either.
I think one of the main reasons why I didn't go and read them was, as I've mentioned on other shows, I kind of have discovered that my tastes are a little bit unique and bitchy, but I kind of find that I want the source material to be elevated when they make something out of it, as opposed to people that are happy or just separating the source material from the shows and stuff. And I didn't enjoy the show to the point where, like, I didn't think there was any point in reading the source material, because if that was elevating it, then I don't really want to know what it was, you know what I mean? Or maybe I just got burned by The Boys, because I read The Boys recently and was really unimpressed, so I have not read the comic. I don't know, I think similar to what you were saying, Benny, like, on second viewing, even though I kind of, like, shuffled through the episodes, it kind of jogged my memory and made me appreciate what they were attempting and kind of the production value and the acting a bit more. But yeah, just overall, I wasn't super stoked on it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. When I, initially saw like a trailer for it, I think I had this thing in my head where it was going to be like it almost looked like if Wes Anderson made a superhero TV show or something. Like, that's kind of what I thought it was going to be like. And it not really what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what they were going for, but in my own mind, that's what I was hoping for. So I was a little disappointed that didn't seem to be what it actually was.
It seems to be what they were attempting in part, but I agree that they didn't quite hit the mark.
Yeah, they didn't hit the mark on that.
One of my kind of notes I jotted down was that it lifts from too many other things for my tastes, and top of the list is Tenenbaums. Like, Tenenbaums had a much better ensemble cast of misfits, and it seemed... I don't know when the comic came out, but it just seemed very similar, and I'd rather watch Tenenbaums.
But why? Wait, hang on a second, guys. Why did you say that Wes Anderson thing, Ben? Was that something that that you read somewhere, or it seemed that way?
No. It just seemed that way. The presentation of it had a sort of, you didn't think that at all. That, like, aesthetically sort of.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I have not watched a ton of Wes Anderson films. I've watched some of them, not all of them. Everybody's always like,
have you seen Tenenbaums?
Yeah, but it was so long ago I could not tell you one thing about it, and I only watched once. So, I mean, now that you're saying it, yeah, I could see that.
You've got like the quirky mansion with a bunch of quirky things and knickknacks, and then one of the characters writes a book about the family, which is
Right.
very similar to Tenenbaums and stuff. So it kind of has that flavor. It's not as silly as Wes Anderson, but
right. Well, yeah, that's like it stops sort of just at like maybe like an aesthetic hat tip sort of thing,
sure,
Right.
like a presentation kind of a thing. But the style of writing, the way the story is told, the characters, relationships, the acting, all of that stuff, like none of it seemed very Wes Anderson-y to me. But like.
Yeah,
Whatever
definitely not.
when they're all when they all start dancing to that song, and I think it's like the first episode, they sort of do a thing where it pans out and it's like you can see all the rooms in the house, kind of a thing. It's a very
like a dollhouse.
Yeah.
right, and that's a very Wes Anderson kind of thing, to sort
Right.
of have sets that are set up that way. So this is just something. It wasn't anything that I read, but it was just something.
It was a
that-
minor.
when I initially
note
saw
that
a trailer
you
for it, I was
thought,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, this could be cool. It's going to be like a Wes Anderson sort of superhero thing," and it totally face planted on that. It's not like anybody promised that to me, but that's what I had,
Right.
going into it, and it turned out to be something very different.
Yeah. Right. I don't. I didn't really like. I really liked that scene with the whole dancing thing, and then the pan out with the house and the walls removed. Like I thought that was really cool.
Sure. It doesn't mean that it was a bad
I don't know.
scene. It just seemed to lift from Wes Anderson. And for me, once you kind of tip your hat that heavily to Wes Anderson, like I expect it to be elevated instead of copied, I guess.
You expect what? The Royal Tenenbaums Academy?
Well, I guess to be specific, I expect if you're going to tip your hat to something, I expect you to elevate it, Like I think Tarantino is a good example of someone who robs from Peter to pay Paul, but he tends to like add to, the inspiration instead of just copying the inspiration, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do. I mean, look, there's a lot of ways to tip your hat, and there's a lot of ways to do, fan service and Easter eggs and homages and all of that sort of thing. And, it really at this point in time, because those sort of things are very commonplace now. Like it's it's really personal preference.
Yeah.
So like, people complained about fan service in the new Star Wars films, Force Awakens, and, it ruined the films and all this sort of thing. And it's like, yeah, I can totally see that, man. And I can also see, there's been other films where it's like, they're just trying too hard to put too many Easter eggs in. It's just like, why are you doing that? You don't need to do that. You know what I mean? So like, I guess I'm sort of playing devil's advocate, but like just having that one shot like that, right? I almost appreciate that more because he's not like, it's not like he's doing a whole stylistic copying of Wes Anderson. He's just like, this is a Wes Anderson type of shot and I'm using it. And in many ways that's very flattering, and it was simple and it was brief. So it wasn't like, the whole, or 2/3 of the show, or even 1/3 of the show had like a Wes Anderson flavor, like I liked that it was just that little bit,
Yeah, the only thing I would say though is that it didn't bother me at first. It was just it kept piling on.
Oh,
So one of the things I didn't like was not that it copied Wes Anderson top to bottom. It's that it copied a bunch of different things too much. So like the only kind of notes that I really have on the dislikes is that, like I said, it lifts from too many things. So you got Tenenbaums with the Ensemble and Misfits. I feel like it lifted from like Clue, Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with the violin. Like you're trying to figure out a fucking whodunit the whole time. Like
Colonel Mustard in the ballroom with a violin. That's great.
Yeah, dude. Like Pulp Fiction, Cha-Cha and Hazel are basically exactly the same as Jules and Vincent. Like the actors are good and they're, Mary J. Bliger's great, and I'm sure we'll get to the cast later, but
yeah.
So like Pulp Fiction's Two Assassins, Miller's Crossing, the execution in the forest is lifted straight from Miller's Crossing. Like there's just, as you said, Kev, like first episode, they pull back, they're dancing in a house. You're like, oh, that's interesting. It's a nice little tip of the hat. And then like 7 episodes later, you're just like, can you stop copying from people and fucking show me something else? And it got a little frustrating, I guess, which, like you said, I guess there's a lot of different ways to do homages, and maybe I just felt that it got a little too heavy-handed or something. But as you said, personal preference, and mine was not super stoked because of that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Now, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I mean, here's the thing. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm thinking about all of those things that you just said, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. But I didn't think any of those things. In fact, none of those things came to mind when I watched them. So I don't know what that means, but it means something.
It means something heavy.
I definitely picked up on all the same sort of things, Chad. Especially with Hazel and Cha Cha, that whole thing, and the sort of lifting from Pulp Fiction. So yeah, I definitely picked up on that.
Even still, like the Cha Cha and Hazel, like I thought the mask thing was weird, but a cool artistic addition, and I don't know, like there was interesting parts to it, and I guess like I was way more moody on first viewing. But after checking it out a little bit over the last couple of days, I'm a little bit less grumpy about it, and I'm willing to kind of bitch about it a little bit with reading my notes from a few months ago. But
right
on second viewing, like I guess if this show came out 10, 15 years ago before all this other crazy stuff and the TV renaissance, it would be like, holy shit, this is the best thing ever. But because it's coming out now, I just have less patience for it, I guess. Because there's so much you can watch instead of it, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's part of the reason why we want to do The Boys in you know, the next couple of weeks is because it's very similar in a lot of ways in terms of what they're trying to tackle, but one does it better than the other, you know? So
absolutely. You were saying that, you know, you read the comic The Boys and you thought that it was not great, but the show was good.
Yeah.
So clearly they've elevated the material,
without a doubt.
At least in your purview.
Oh, I don't know, man. I think anyone over the age of 7 would agree with me because of how horribly, I don't know, flat and immature the comic was and how nuanced the show was. But we'll get into it in a lot more detail in an upcoming show. But
we'll get into that more in another episode.
Yes, back to the task at hand.
But more like the reason I brought it up was because, you know, we're in the golden age of TV, and you've got a show like The Boys and a show like Umbrella Academy that are taken from comics and ensemble casts and on the darker side of things, a la Watchmen, and you can compare and contrast them like straight away. Like they're not coming out 5 years apart, and it's kind of interesting that we have that opportunity. But with that opportunity means one of them isn't going to be appreciated as much, and you're just going to be like, yeah, whatever, see you later. And for me, that's Umbrella Academy.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Fine.
What was your high level? You didn't say what you thought overall.
Yeah.
Overall, I'll say, just listening to the two of you guys talk about this for a few minutes, like I didn't think of any of those things. Like I didn't think, oh, this is like Wes Anderson. Oh, this is like Pulp Fiction. Oh, Miller's Crossing. Like I didn't. None of that stuff jumped into my head when I watched it the first time, and I was fully absorbed. And I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, I mean, there's a few things I could gripe about, but it's a solid show, man. I thought it was solid, and the story was good. The acting was great. The sets were really good. I really liked the way they did the music. You know, nothing crazy special there on the music, but I like the interspersion of, you know, using songs from popular culture, oftentimes remakes of those songs, and intermixing it with just, you know, kind of standard score music. I thought they did a really good job with it, and I thought the acting was great. I really liked Five a lot.
Yeah,
I really, really liked him.
Yeah, out of all of them, I liked Five the best. The rest were...
He was rock solid as an actor, man.
Absolutely, man. But like, really, Klaus, great job. Diego, again, you know. Tom Hopper. I haven't seen season 7 of Game of Thrones. I've only watched 1 through 6, so I can't comment on Tom Hopper, and I haven't seen him in any of the other things he's done. But you know, he did a good job. And you know, Ellen Page. It's like I can rarely think of a time when I haven't liked Ellen Page. You know, she's a great little actress, man. I mean, she started off as a kid in the original Trailer Park Boys series on Showcase in Canada, man, and she's just great. X-Men, all that, man. She's been around.
Yeah, definitely.
So
the cast is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Colm Feore, who played Reginald Hargreaves, I mean, I don't need to tell a super-powered nerd like Jarhigo that is the Lord Marshal.
Yes.
From
the Lord Marshal from Chronicles of Riddick.
Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Also starring Vako.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what's funny? I didn't pick up on that until you just mentioned it. But as soon as you mentioned the name, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why. Like for some reason, I just with the monocle and the whole the whole get up with the character. There's something familiar about him, but I couldn't place it. Thanks for bringing that to the forefront for me.
Well, it's a testament to his acting ability, and it's also, I to let you off the hook, I didn't realize it was Colm Feore until I was like, there's something about that guy. I know that voice. I know that something. And I quickly looked it up and I was like, oh, of course, of course it's him. And he played it so perfectly, he's such a great, underrated actor. And the woman that played Mom, the robotic maid, Nanny, was fantastic, man.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know. I don't really, Kate Walsh played the handler. She was in Drew Carey all those years ago. She's great. She's been around. She was in, what's its hell that all the girls like? McSteamy, McDreamy. What is that show? The doctor show. I don't know.
Grey's Anatomy.
Ellen Pompeo. Thank you. Jesus Christ. My memory banks are not fully connected, and I clearly. But anyway, so yeah, like really great cast. There's a lot to like there. I think one thing, I felt like there was a couple of holes in the story that I was a little bit confused about, but beyond that, like, I don't know. I thought it was good. If anything, I was just, wanting more. I was like, well, I want to know more about this, like I want to know more about that. There was a lot of pretty rich detail in there. So I guess I sort of am the opposite of the two of you on this particular topic, man. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. And I'm just watching it again. The last couple of days, I was like, yeah, same thing. I was like, this is great. And I was picking up even more detail that I had, stuff I had missed or forgotten. And I was like, this is great.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to shit on it 100%. Like I said, I found myself kind of getting into it and enjoying it again. And I am curious to see what happens, with season 2 for sure. Your point about all the actors, they were great. I think my criticism was more just the characters themselves and this sort of loops of like abuse and self-abuse and, like everybody seems to be like walking around with like a chip on their shoulder about their childhood, which is completely understandable, but it's almost like they're all trying to like outdo each other with it a little bit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can totally get down with that, actually. Yeah, you're 100% right.
The thing that sort of annoys me is, especially with Vanya, Ellen Page's character, I kept finding myself like really feeling for her and feeling bad for her, but also she kind of kept like doing shitty stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she kept like going like, like she would kind of like have these moments of like clarity and, like it seems like she would come to a place of like maturing and growing, but then she would lash out with some stupid. You know what I mean? Like I'd be feeling really bad for her, and then she would do something, and I'd be like, "Well, yeah, but that sucked. Like, why did you do that?" So, and I found that with a lot of the characters, like they were all like stuck in these sort of loops of not moving forward and not getting over their past, and it's a little frustrating to watch that,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, everybody did a fantastic job. The whole cast was great. It wasn't the actors, it was like the writing that sort of fell short. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That was sort of one of my big hangups with Sex and the City. Like, I watched that show like many people did, and it was a really great show. But like, one of my gripes was kind of what you just said, how it was like they never got over it, got through it, you know what I mean?
Right. So the characters aren't evolving.
Exactly. Like I felt like the girl, I often felt watching Sex and the City that the girls were getting themselves in the same situations all the time. And it's like, okay, enough already, man. Like, let's
Yeah.
just do like a little bit of learning, you know?
I've never seen Sex and the City, but it kind of was of the era of the sitcom where the cast resets at the end of every episode kind of thing, and it's definitely past the time for that to be repeated.
Yeah, right. Yeah, definitely needs to be shuttered.
Yeah, I think the bar for storytelling in these shows has definitely been raised, and when you see like little mistakes like that, they kind of become glaring, I think. And I guess it's not a mistake, it's just the way it's written, and it's what the characters are based on, but
Absolutely.
And it would be hard to weave this stuff together, I guess, too.
Yeah.
True, but I mean, you're also you're working on screenplays, and you already have source material. It's not like you're making it all up. Like, I don't know. I mean, in the case of The Boys, to kind of go back to that for a second, it's like, as you both said, they vastly improved on the source material.
Well, on that point, the show lifts 4% of the story from the comic and abandons pretty much everything else. Like, it's not at all the same.
Wow.
So,
and I'm sure there are fans of The Boys out there that don't like that, and they're justified in thinking that. Yeah.
Oh, maybe, but like from my taste, like, it just the if they had made the comic true to itself, if they had made the show true to the comic, like, people may or may not have liked it. But as you said, Benny, the bar is set high these days, and you really got to come to the party. Like, they're spending whatever, $200 or $100 million on Game of Thrones. Like, that's what people expect of Game of Thrones every time now. Not that it's realistic, and not that it should be expected, but like, they really are expecting, like, Game of Thrones meets the writing of True Detective season 1 or something. And it's just like, not everything can be that.
Yeah, sure.
No, that's I mean, you're sort of touching on like I think what's a larger problem in our society now is that exact thing.
And I think I have that problem personally. I think I have that expectation.
Yeah, right. I mean, to take it into another realm, like, this is what I know I talked about this when we had that Apple show, when we talked about, Apple hatred, and like, I think that the expectation, like, the bar was set so high when they released the first iPhone, and then they followed it up with the iPad. The bar was set so high. It was like every single time everybody was waiting for them to come out with a device,
like a world-changing thing.
Yeah, exactly. On the level of the first 3G iPhone and the iPad, and it's like, it was never going to happen, man.
Yeah.
It just couldn't. I'm not making fun of Apple. I'm just saying, like, it's like you're.
No, it's 100% true.
It's totally true, and it's just like, and then people were disappointed, and it's like your expectation is way too high. Like, why would you think that they would be able to do that?
Yeah, they want the new world changing device every 2 years. Meanwhile, it's a 10 to 20 year cycle at minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then just as an Apple fanboy here, like, they come out with things like the Apple Watch, and everyone's like, it's a failure. And it's like, dude, it's got almost double-digit percentage of the global watch market. Like, it's a fucking roaring success, and if it was its own company, it would be like Fortune 500. But the scale is so skewed, it's so funny.
That stat. I still can't believe that stat. I can't believe that. Like, you told me that the other night, and I cannot believe that.
Yeah. Like, they're bigger than all the Swiss watchmakers, and it's really funny. It's funny how it works. And I think that's a good analogy because, even Jeff Bezos for Amazon Prime said, he's like, I want the next Game of Thrones, so all of these streaming people and people like HBO are trying to get the next Game of Thrones, and they're swinging for the bleachers and stuff, and that's great, but there's going to be a lot of swings and misses, and
right, but that's what I was saying before, Chad, when I was saying, like, what I was saying about Disney. It's like, if you just focus on making a good piece of work, like, people will love it, and then you will get another Game of Thrones, another Marvel franchise, like, whatever. But it's like, you can't be looking for that. Like if you're just like out hunting for it, like, or trying to create it in a lab, like it's not going to happen, man.
Well, look at the conversation we had on Stranger Things, where you were saying they shopped it to like 20 people and no one was like, yeah, no one was buying it. They're all like, yeah, whatever, fucking bunch of kids, whatever. And it is
exactly
probably the biggest show next to Game of Thrones of the last 5 years, I would say. Like, what other show is this big?
I would agree with that.
And they did exactly what you're saying, where they just like made the thing for themselves, and it turns out it hit a major nerve, you know?
Yeah, exactly, man. You know, but like that's the what of it. You know, stay true to the source material, man. You know, if you think you got something good, stick to your guns.
Well, going back to what you were saying a minute ago, Benny, about the characters, you know, having, I don't know, what I heard you say was kind of like the characters didn't really gel as well as they could have, and they didn't take as much time with some of them as they should have. But I think you mentioned 5, the kid being rock solid, and I felt like 5, the kid and the junkie, were like the 2 strongest characters with the best like fleshed out arcs, and they were super entertaining. Whereas a lot of the other people just kind of fell flat, even though the actors were good. The writing wasn't quite there.
I agree. I thought that about Allison. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 was great, and he said the junkie, and now the dude's name fell out of my...
Klaus.
Yeah, Klaus. Yeah, he was awesome. He was great. Both those characters seem to sort of... I don't know. I mean, I guess 5, because 5 is technically like much older than the rest of them, and has sort of lived a fuller life. You know, he seems to be more over, you know, whatever the fuck was going on in their childhood, because obviously they all had their hang-ups because of their father, right? Like he was pushing all of them, you know, and probably the worst one being Vanya, you know, being locked up in that chamber, and, you know, but they all sort of had their own thing, but none of them seemed to be over it except for 5 and Klaus. You know what I mean? They're the only 2 that seem to have sort of moved on to something else. Does that make sense?
What do you mean? Yeah, I just want to ask you a question about something you said. What do you mean Vanya being locked in the chamber? Can you refresh my memory?
Shit.
we're having some trouble tonight, folks.
We're having technical difficulties. The father character, what the hell was he called?
Reginald Hargreaves.
Baron Munchausen.
Ah, yes, Reginald Hargreaves. Baron Munchausen. When he discovers that, like, how powerful she actually is, how powerful Vanya actually is, he basically decides that he needs to, like, stifle, like, get rid of her or stifle her power.
Oh, right. Yes. Sorry.
So
wow. Yeah.
So he puts her in like a chamber because her powers get like a start from like a sound, I guess. Like she focuses on a sound, and that's like where the power starts to, that's like the seed for the power. He puts her in a room where there's no, it's, I forget what they call it. It's like a echo something chamber or whatever. But yeah, there's no sound in the room, so she can't get her powers started. So
I was giggling in the background because it reminded me of the time when you guys hung mad shit on me because I was talking about the Infinity Stones and Guardians and how, like, I missed the Infinity Stones. You guys were like, how did you miss, like, the fucking plot point of the whole show?
Right.
Like, Kev's like, wait, who's Vanya again?
Okay, wait, Jarhigo, hold on. Wait, who's Vanya?
Am I the only one that watched the show, guys? I mean,
oh my God, no. I totally just flaked on that part, man.
One thing that came to mind when you were expanding on that a little bit, Ben, was maybe I like 5 and Klaus so much because they're the driving force of the story. So like it's Klaus, 5, and Vanya that really are the entire point, and the other characters kind of fall to a support role. And as a result of the support role, there's not a hell of a lot of fleshing out. Maybe that's why I liked those characters more than the others, is they were the ones that were focused on, and maybe multiple seasons would change that.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think, perhaps I guess from what I've gathered, they're kind of staying pretty close to the source material, relatively close to the source material. So yeah, perhaps I'm just being impatient, and the development on those characters is going to come, as the seasons progress. But yeah. I don't know where I'm going with that, but
but on that shitometer scale that you guys were talking about before, with like whether you think the show's shit or not, I feel like we fall on 3 different points. Where Kev, you kind of are happiest about the show, and Ben, you sound like you fall somewhere in the middle. And I kind of, if we don't do an episode on season 2 of this, I won't watch season 2. Like, I just wasn't super into it, I guess, So it's kind of interesting to think about it in that way. It's like, because you were saying that you're interested to see what they do with season 2, Ben, even though you had some frustrations with it, where I'd probably just be like, yeah, whatever, skip it, because there's such a glut of TV now. So it's just interesting to kind of place it there,
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what else is going on, but I'll probably watch it.
True.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to watch it. I want to go back to the world. I want to see more. I want to know more. Like, the story was great, but it left a lot of threads unfinished and unanswered, and I want to know more,
What did you think about like the main kind of story thread of the time travel to save the end of the world thing, and that turns out the twist is that the sister is the end of the world kind of thing?
I liked it. I didn't see it coming, and I love when I don't see it coming, and sometimes I feel like I'm stupid because I don't see things coming. But, I like to be surprised. I mean, I think a lot of people do, and I don't know why I didn't put that together,
The kind of John Wick society thing was interesting.
Well, I liked how they wrote the story, and they wrote the story in such a way that, it was sort of leading you in one direction, and you didn't really think, like, the way they wrote the story, I did not think Vanya was going to discover her power, or, and this could be a testament to my stupidity. I have no idea that I didn't see that, It's like they hinted at it throughout the series, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, Vanya's got powers, dude! Like, an idiot.
Well, to be fair to you, though, you forgot who Vanya was, so...
Chad, I've got a feeling you're not going to let me live that down, and that's fine.
Nah.
No, not likely. Not bloody likely.
I wasn't 100% that Vanya was going to be the end of the world, but it was like pretty glaring to me, like, wait, she's like, one of the children that were born on that day, like, to the miraculous birth or whatever. In fact, like, her mother was the one by the pool that, like, kissed the boy and then jumped in, and then immediately was just like,
was that her mom?
Like, pregnant and like had the baby.
Boom.
Yeah, that was Vanya's mom.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Like they showcased that little part. Yeah. So, I was like, well, that's bizarre that she doesn't have any powers. Like, that doesn't make any sense. There's something there, like that stuck out at me on the first watching. I was like, something's up there. I don't know what it is, but something's up there.
Yeah. I think I think I had a thought like that too. I was like, wait a minute, but then I kind of got lulled into a false sense of security. Like, I was like, okay, I guess she doesn't have powers.
Well, she's just really good at violin.
She's just like really good at violin.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she's just really, really good at violin.
She's really good at... That was great. That was very, very Travolta.
I don't know if I was really going for that, but that's sort of where it went.
It kind of turned, yeah. It was, you were channeling a little Travolta there. It's kind of like when we were doing that thing with Christopher Lambert, and it ended up turning into Booberry.
Oh my God, that was perhaps one of our largest revelations, was that Booberry and Christopher Lambert are practically the same entity.
Booberry, like the cereal?
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely Booberry from the cereal. You know it, bitch. And Christopher Lambert.
I have a minor interlude on the topic of cereal where I discovered one of the guys from the Adventure Zone D&D podcast came out with cereal podcast called The Empty Bowl, and I had to say it was the most delightful 15 minutes I've spent in like 6 months. It was fucking hilarious.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
A cereal podcast? Like how much could you talk about cereal?
Dude, I swear to God, it's so good. It's like the dude from the Adventure Zone who's quite funny, and his buddy who has a cereal blog, and he's like a cereal expert, and they just talk about the holiday cereal releases, and I swear to you, it is hilarious. Like you need to, it's 15 minutes long, and you need to listen to it, and it is so good.
I'm going to listen to it.
I really enjoyed it. It's like they pitch it as a meditation on cereal. So there's like calm hippie music, and they're like, today we're going to talk about cereal. You don't have to do nothing other than sit and think about cereal. It's really good. So yeah, Blueberry, good call.
Love it, man.
Blueberry. Does anyone eat cereal on the mic?
I've only listened to 1.5 episodes, and there's like 18 episodes so far, so probably.
Just seems like that should happen on that show, you know? Like
It should really, yeah.
Yeah, for real, man.
like they should like try it on the show, you know? Like everybody should like pour a bowl and
The sonic quality of cereal is a major factor in reviewing. So.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, then you get a little what the hell do they call it? Asthma
Yeah.
in there.
Asthma.
Asthma?
Yeah, asthma, yeah, autonomic something.
ASMI, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No,
ASMR,
no.
yeah.
ASMR. You know what I just did? Wait. When I said ASMI, I was totally transposing ASMI from the film Cedar Rapids. For any of you, the folks out there that have made it to this point in the podcast, because this is probably
Congratulations, you won the fucking door prize.
one of our more terrible episodes. Like, congratulations, A, for making it this far in the podcast.
Ding,
Secondly,
ding, ding. You won.
If you're still listening and you've seen the film Cedar Rapids, it is such a great movie. It's a really, really funny movie. Probably one of the better funny movies that's come out in the last 10 years. It came out probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, starring Ed Helms. Anne Heche is in it, and John. Wow, none of us can remember anything tonight. This is so great.
It's great. Woefully underprepared.
Yeah, woefully underprepared. Thank you, Ben. Exactly. And John C. Reilly's in it.
To be fair, I didn't know that Cedar Rapids was going to be on the test, so...
Yeah,
I know, right? I know.
nor asthma, but
yeah. Any of you out there that haven't seen it, go see it. I don't know if these two clowns have seen it or not, but it's really funny. And
I've never even heard of it.
And they're all in insurance. They all work in insurance. And the sort of the group, the regional group they belong to, is called ASME.
That was the best side topic to get to the most plain Jane punchline I've ever heard. I love it.
I know, it is, right? It's like the best like side corn shuck to get to like nothing.
To get to the biggest nothing burger in the history of burgers.
It's like Murderface's birthday present, man. Disappointment.
nothing. Nothing.
So, and I just want to just make a quick note that that's where I died.
That is abso-frickin-lutely where you died, bro.
Oh God, no question about it. So anyway, I got so lost in that horrible digression that I don't even know where I was. I don't even know where we were.
Well, why don't we move on to ratings then?
Sure.
Yeah, let's move on and rate this, because we clearly don't have any more juice about this show.
So I'm still pushing hard for my letter grade for TV shows agenda, number of grades for movies. So I will be rating this with a letter grade.
Is that what we're doing?
Not to be confused with a tardigrade. Well, you can do whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Oh, good. I like being able to do what I want.
I do what I want.
Wait, what did you say about a tardigrade?
Yeah, I just dropped it in there. I've never really even watched Doctor Who, but we don't need another digression.
Fuck.
Letter grades, I'm teetering between a low C and a high D.
Wow.
I don't know if I can give it a D. I think I would have given it a D or even an F the first time around because I was being a moody biatch. But I think the acting and the production value and the fact that they were like at least attempting something that my younger self would have been super excited about before the glut of superhero movies. So I think a low C for me is about as high as I can go.
Wow.
Low C, yeah. Okay.
I'm shocked.
And appalled.
Actually, I'm not. Why am I shocked? He doesn't like anything.
I'll put it to you this way. I like John Wick better.
Wow. I'll tell you something, man. I'm so bedraggled today. Like when you just said that score, I got sad for the entire show and the entire cast of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
As if they're going to be listening to this podcast.
Because you're in the union.
Oh boy. Yeah, right, exactly. Go ahead, Benny.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same thing as I gave Bandersnatch. I'm going to go with the B-.
All right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, right on. I'm down with that. I think that's a fair score. I think that's a fair score, yeah.
That's a second viewing score, too. I probably would have given it a straight B the first time, but the second time around, it's like the overarching story is good, the acting is good, the sets are great, the music is great. I just found myself getting hung up in those little soap opera storylines that just weren't going anywhere and were just kind of loopy, and like when you start getting annoyed with the characters in a show, you know what I mean? You're just like, Jesus Christ, get over it already, or do this, or like this, like when you're watching the characters just get in their own way constantly, and
yeah.
So yeah, all that shit just stuck out at me and kind of was the pebble in my sandal, so to speak, and it just threw a big old minus on the end of that B for the final final evaluation.
Well, the good thing about Pebble sandals is they're sandals, so they'll come out pretty easily.
It does. It does, yeah.
So are you talking about like the Monkey Moon Man dude and the Gossip Girl characters? Is that kind of one of the annoying?
Oh, that's it. That's it right there. And then, and then Gossip Girl and Vanya and their whole thing, and those two going back and forth and, and just like, whatever, just, yeah, there was a lot of,
drums.
Yeah, just like stuff that just wasn't moving forward in any meaningful way, I think. Or stuff that would seemingly be moving forward and then would end up being dropped back,
going nowhere
into the same slot again, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I thought the creepy stalker dude with Vanya was kind of like that. Like, I felt like that it was a major driver in the story, but he was just such a creeper. Didn't do it for me a lot.
Yeah, that whole thing, and then her sister like picking up on that vibe and trying to warn her, and then her and her sister getting pissed at each other because of that, and just like all that shit I found to be like drudgery. Like it just the second viewing, it really, all that shit just weighed it down for me. It just brought it down.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, the other thing too, like it's a shame what you're saying about that, Ben, that particular thread about how Leonard comes into the picture and he's definitely creepy and weird. Like I picked it up right away. Okay. And then Allison meets him and she's like, yeah, something's going on with you, dude. And I get what you're saying about how that was written out and played out, because it's such like an important plot point to the whole thing. Because in many ways, Vanya is sort of the villain. She's the one that they're chasing after, ostensibly, right? But at the same time, Leonard is really the supervillain of this particular story of the Umbrella Academy, right?
Sure, yeah. Him and Reginald Hargraves really are the worst. Everybody else is in some state of victimhood, really, but yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. But everybody, and then by that notion, everybody's a victim of Reginald Hargreaves, because that's how Leonard started doing what he was doing, because he wanted to be the Umbrella Academy, and he was like, run along, boy, you are nobody, or whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess I'm just trying to like back up what you're saying or add more to that. Like, what?
That was just I love your like condensed version of Reginald Hargraves says to Leonard.
Oh, yeah, right. Go away, boy. You're not good enough to be a superhero. Go away. Anyway, so yeah, I agree. I'm just saying that I think that those things were, that I understand what you're saying about those sort of threads, because that thread was like a major thread in the whole story.
It needs to be believable. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. It's got to be believable. It's like you got to write it properly. Whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those like emotional, like, sorry, I was just gonna throw this in really quick. Just the it almost seemed like MacGuffin-y to me, like all the emotional triggers for Vanya, like her disagreements with Allison and all that. Like, you know what I mean? It seemed MacGuffin-y to me. Like it seemed like stuff that they put in there to try and create, a friction so that Vanya would freak out and become this, sort of monster,
and to get you to go to the snack bar.
Yes, yes.
Pee break.
Anyways,
I don't know, man. I think that you may be exactly right about that, what you're positing, and B, I think that sometimes the word MacGuffin is thrown around a little bit too much on this show.
No, I agree. I think especially the Allison relationship thing was just trying to ratchet tension for sure. Like it was just pretty pointless.
Yeah, it was.
I like how you called her Gossip Girl too. That's funny.
Hey Kev, I heard a rumor.
Yeah, I heard a rumor. Oh my god,
that was such a bizarre graphic. Whenever she would do that, and it was like that weird, like like heat air thing would come out of her mouth afterwards, and like their eyes would like glaze over.
Yeah, it was like the Predator was coming out of her mouth.
There's something bizarre about that whole thing. I was like, all right, I guess that's a thing. Shit. All right, Kev. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You were getting going there.
No,
you are allowed to interrupt anyone you want, Ben.
I reserve the right to interrupt whenever I damn well please.
Those are the new rules. See, there you go. You're sounding like Reginald Hargreaves more and more as we go through the show, dude.
I think
that's exactly how you need to be.
I think that's the takeaway. Is now I'm turning into Reginald Hargreaves, which is just bizarre. I was looking for a monocle on eBay earlier. I don't,
Just earlier today.
Just earlier today. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Oh my god, good times, man. So anyway, here's my I kind of already said it before. I kind of gave like a what I loved earlier. I don't have a lot of gripes, and the ones that I did have really didn't bother me a whole lot. I'm going with a B+, same as Bandersnatch, B+ to an A. I thought it was well acted. I enjoyed all of the actors. I thought it was really, really well cast. The writing, yeah, I think we've discussed enough, little nuances and plot holes and things that, whatever. I mean, they could have done some things differently, clearly. But I really like the music, the way they used the music, interspersing it with the score music. It was great, And I like the way the story jumped around, too. Like, I like the way they told it, It wasn't so straightforward. It had, a little bit of just to throw another director in there, from earlier, what you guys were talking about earlier, had a little Chris Nolan action going there, jumping around through time a little bit, So, yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. And I'm excited for the second season. I'm not like excited like I am for Ozark.
Ooh, fuck yeah.
Like, I can't wait for the season 3 of Ozark to come out. In fact, I can't wait till we start getting closer so I can give myself permission to rewatch seasons 1 and 2, which I fully will do. I'm not excited like that, but I'm definitely stoked to revisit the world of the Umbrella Academy.
Okay, 2 questions, Kev.
Go.
Question number 1, are you eating a cookie?
Question 1, no.
Question number 2, why didn't you give it an A? What holds it back from an A?
My own insecurities.
Perfect.
The need to fit in.
Thank you.
Peer pressure.
You know what? I'm gonna just wind back time for a second, and I'm giving it an A-.
Oh, I like it.
Okay, I'm gonna be bold tonight. I'm not gonna worry about my insecurities. I'm gonna give it an A-.
You're not gonna worry about eating a cookie on the show?
Nope. A-. It deserved it.
Good for you. Good for you, buddy.
Well, Chad, looks like we're going to be checking out the second season of the Umbrella Academy, much to your chagrin.
Looks like it, huh? All right, I'm just going to write off that 10 hours.
You don't have to, man. I mean, you guys can be like, yeah, we're not doing that because we hated it. It's 2-1. You know, beauty of having 3 people. And I'll just talk about how horrible you are for not wanting to talk about that on every episode next season.
You know, a bit B- is far from hatred. It's just, you know.
Hated it.
Hated it.
So, Chad, did you settle on what? A C- or a D? What did you give it?
I said a low C, C-. I didn't feel comfortable with a D, not because of my self-loathing, but because I feel like the acting and production value kind of bumps it up a notch. Because like they took a swing. You know, I'm willing to give them a little bit of an uptick because they took a swing.
Okay.
Rather than just not make the show at all, they took a swing. It didn't really connect for me, and that's fine. That's just because I'm a dick.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right.
And we know Jarhigo's score was a B-, same as Bandersnatch. Mine was an A-. There you have it, folks.
There she
Great.
is.
Good game, guys. Good game.
Good game. I like it.
There's definitely a couple of ass slaps. We're like, yep, good game.
Oh, slap ass.
The
Nice.
old slap ass.
Slap ass.
So there you have it, folks. Our scores for the Umbrella Academy, now playing on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's worth a watch if you're talking to me and Jarhigo. If
Not me.
you're talking to Chad, maybe not so much.
Go watch The Boys, guys. Go watch The Boys, everybody.
Yeah, use your discretion. Check out The Boys. We're going to be doing The Boys in the next 2 weeks, either next week or the week after that. I can't remember exactly when because I don't have the schedule in front of me. But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Say goodbye to The Boys. Jarhigo, Algorithm.
Ciao.
See yous.
So long. And that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Folks, if you want to find links to the stuff we spoke about today, you can find them in the show notes in your podcast app of choice, or at the website ebd.fm/19. If you have any thoughts on the show or an idea for a topic, hit us up on Twitter at EBD Podcast. You can find me at Molverine on Twitter. That's MOHLVERINE. Chad is at Chad Normal on Twitter, and Ben, of course, is at Jarhigo on Twitter. That's JARHEEGO. Remember, folks, word of mouth is an amazing way to help grow the show. So if you know someone that may like it, please let them know. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
There were a couple of things I saw. I don't know if you guys saw this week that I think are worth bringing up. Did you guys happen to see the recent Ewan McGregor stage time?
No, I have not.
No.
Oh, goody. So I'm pleased to announce, Benny, that Ewan McGregor was brought onto the stage at the Disney conference to announce a official Obi-Wan Kenobi show that he will be starring in.
A show?
A show.
That's great. I thought it would be like a, movies or a movie, but a show. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't see a ton about it, but it was just saying that I think they had a movie in mind for a while, then they shit-canned it, and now it's a longer format. So maybe they just felt like it was too constrained in one movie or something.
Maybe, yeah.
So you know what that means. Hello, yakisoba.
Yakisoba.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm not sure.
It would be awesome if they had little Easter eggs in there, like that. It would be fucking hilarious.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Plo baby. So just to give you a quick little thing here about that show is Disney Plus is the new streaming service from Disney.
Yeah.
And they are just they just acquired Fox, as we know. So Fox has a huge stake in Hulu. So now Disney owns all of Fox's stuff they're transferring all whatever Marvel stuff that Fox had back to Marvel, and they're coming out with shows about everything, like MCU shows, like the Black Widow one, and this yakisoba show. And like
it's actually a cooking show.
It's actually a cooking show. Cooking with Obi-Wan.
On today's Cooking with Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're going to make a favorite on Tatooine, yakisoba.
Yakisoba. It's very similar to amorphous white porridge.
Well, it was more of a clam chowder, I thought.
So clam chowder, absolutely. Yeah. Admiral Akbar's.
Made the Mon Calamari way. So anyway, Disney Plus is basically, they're ready to crush the entire universe with their insane, intellectual property power.
Because I really need another streaming service.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, man. I'm getting tired of that.
Yeah.
It's such good content, too. Like, it's all of Marvel, all of Disney, all of Pixar, all 30 years of The Simpsons, a bunch of Fox stuff. Like, it's some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, we don't know there's going to be, all the movies, all that stuff. But, like, we don't know about this new content. We don't know if it's going to be good. And, I mean, quite honestly, until Disney started acquiring Star Wars and Marvel, they weren't always churning out great content.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry to say. And I'm not in the, back in the old days with the, cell animation movies that they used to do, like that stuff was incredible. But in the last 15 years, like,
even animation wise, they were shit, and Pixar came to the party.
That's actually what I'm talking about, Chad. Like they did not hit the mark. Like they were always like looking for, I feel like they're always looking for a mega franchise. And I think if they focused on, I hate to sound like such a corny artist, but if you focus on the art, like if you make forget about that. If you just make great films with great stories that are well written, people will come, man.
Yeah,
End
totally.
of story.
Well, Pixar proved that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Well, they own Pixar now too.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Beauty and the Beast by Disney was probably the last kind of mega hit they had, and that was in like the 90s, and then Pixar and everybody else started eating their breakfast. You eat shit for breakfast?
Wait, you eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
Yep, I do. What was his name? Swinger MacGuffin or something? Cutter McDugan?
Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin.
Shooter McGavin.
So that's it, man. Obi-Wan is official, Benny. I just I'm stoked that you didn't know that, and I was able to share that with you.
Yeah, nice bit of news, bro. That's cool.
Yeah, dog.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Very cool.
And, the best part about this new Disney streaming service, of course, is they are going to make an entire series. It's titled Rise of the Helicarriers. So Chad is finally going to get his wish.
It'll be like Ghost in the Shell or whatever, where like the hover carriers have like voices and they have sentient AIs inside of them, and they kind of have cutesy robot conversations and stuff. It'll be good.
Yeah, I can't wait.
like the spider from Spider-Verse.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, guys, if I can just say, I was not entirely truthful about what I just said. There's more to the story than that.
Okay.
Turns out Disney secretly just bought Hasbro and the Transformers franchise. So now it's not just a show about helicarriers. It's a show about helicarriers that transform into even gianter robots.
That's awesome. And Cobra Commander's there too.
Wow.
And Cobra Commander is the nanny.
That's amazing.
Great.
Okay.
We don't need any. There doesn't need to be anything else ever.
That's it.
It really doesn't, man.
That's it.
End of show.
It really doesn't. And end of the podcast.
End of the universe.
Now there's nothing else to talk about.
That's it.